we'll be moving on to the next one. But anyway, cheers. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
All righty. So as we are getting into the home stretch of our very, very, very full day, we still got about 45 minutes, and actually better yet to say 50 minutes, because we have the following talk, then we have another talk about governance, and then we will finish with a musical performance from a very, very special guest whose songs have been featured in Netflix documentaries, and is also very well connected to the following organization that we will be presenting. The Last Mile is an organization that the Data on Kubernetes community has had the pleasure to collaborate with since I got involved last year. And today we have with us Andrea Henkel, who's the head of operations. So Andrea, you can turn your camera on so we can see you. And perfect. Good morning. Oh,
Good morning.
Good. Okay, so yeah, it is 7:45 in California. It's a little bit later here, and it's Monday, and we're very, very lucky to have you with us, Andrea. So if you want to go ahead and share your screen, and you can tell us all about what the Last Mile is, and then we can take a couple of questions here and there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Bart, and thank you for hosting us.
Pleasure.
Great. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Great. So as Bart mentioned, I'm Andrea Henkel. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at The Last Mile. And The Last Mile is a nonprofit that was founded at San Quentin State Prison in California in 2010, beginning as an entrepreneurship program for one small classroom of students. Today, we offer an in-prison coding bootcamp, reentry wraparound services, and focus on community building both inside and outside of the classroom. So as Bart mentioned, I'll be sharing a little bit about who we are, what we do, and why we do it. So to start, who are we? The Last Mile employs just over 20 staff who support our students and classrooms, including 11 full-time employees who are alumni of our program. One of the things we've learned over the course of 10 years is the invaluable perspective that our alumni bring to the table. We deeply believe that anyone can learn to code, and our students underscore that point. They learn and teach coding in an environment without internet access, an environment that would likely baffle many software engineers. Much of our program's success is built on the knowledge and expertise of staff who have lived experience and who have been through our program, ensuring that our methods and our course offerings are relevant and meet the needs of our student body and the constraints of our classroom environments. So what specifically do we teach? Right now, we have a one-year program separated into 2 courses for full-time students. We teach full stack web development, including industry standard technologies such as HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React on the front end, and Node, Express, and Mongo on the back end. Alumni of our program graduate with several projects that highlight their skill sets and have gone on to work at companies such as Slack, Square, Chan Zuckerberg, and Checker as software developers, engineers, and more. All of the work that we do is driven by our mission: to provide opportunities for personal and professional growth for justice-involved individuals through education and technology training. Although our students learn to code without open access to the internet, we've created a robust software suite in our classrooms to best replicate a developer's experience on the outside. All of the platforms we use, such as our LMS, file storage, and GitLab, are hosted and managed by The Last Mile and provided to the students via the Last Mile hardware. This is contingent on and helps to foster the relationship and trust we have with the departments of corrections that we work with. In addition to providing our students with software and platform resources, we also offer remote instruction sessions to support our students' learning and understanding of the material. Our instructors video call into classrooms on a regular cadence to deliver lessons, address students' questions, and perform live assessments. Moreover, all of our current instructors are former participants in our program, so they're able to provide contextually relevant guidance to students that not only supports their understanding of the content, but is also designed with an understanding of our students' environments, as opposed to delivering cookie-cutter coding solutions. Although remote instruction is typically only once a week, the rest of the time our students also have access to our help desk, where they can ask curricular or project-related questions and are addressed asynchronously by a last mile staff member. Our help desk is supported by our team of web development education apprentices, or as we informally call them, our WDEAs. The WDEA program is a 6-month apprenticeship designed for our program participants coming home, in which they have an opportunity to support students as they progress through the content, paying forward what they learned in the classroom to new students, while also jumpstarting their careers with continued professional experience, development, and one-to-one mentorship. Since our inception, we've expanded from a single classroom in California to 22 classrooms in facilities spanning a total of 6 states. We prioritize equity, diversity, and inclusion by maintaining a lens on the students we serve, striving to ensure that our classrooms are equally balanced between men's and women's facilities, and that our students are representative of the population at large in those facilities. We have had 300 people go through our program and be released, and have served over 600 students since our inception. Expansion for TLM does not only mean new classrooms in new states, but in our journey to become the de facto in-prison education platform, we're also exploring new curricular content offerings, including a music and video production program and a networking program focused on preparing students for the CCNA certification. Although the Last Mile launched as an education program offering technical skills and training, we were not initially well equipped to provide structured reentry support for our alumni returning home. We received feedback from alumni who had been released about our community's need for post-release services. In response, we created the Last Mile Reentry Department, which focuses exclusively on providing individualized wraparound support to return citizens. We understand that a successful reentry is about more than finding a job. So our staff of return citizen advocates first and foremost support our community members to make sure they have their basic needs met and can access the resources they need to pursue a fulfilling career. Housing, emergency support, continued education, and professional development are all part of our reentry offering, which we provide with both in-house services and with the help of our return citizen community and business community partners. Speaking of our business community partners, dozens of private companies contribute to our work in the form of fiscal sponsors, curriculum contributors, internal tooling, volunteer networks, one-to-one post-release mentoring, and pipelines to employment. To say we would not be able to do what we do without our contributors and community partners is an understatement. Our partners provide our students, staff, and return citizen community tools for success and the resources that we need to thrive. So if you're wondering how you can contribute, we've got a few ideas for you. You can hire a TLM grad, reach out to us about starting an apprenticeship program at your work, or take a moment to evaluate your hiring process and ensure that you have equitable and fair practices that incorporate second chance hiring. The burden is on all of us to change the societal stigma against justice-impacted people. And if you'd like to stay in touch, please like us and share us on social media or reach out at info@thelastmile.org to learn about more ways that you can contribute. Thank you so much.
Very good. Fantastic presentation and a wonderful organization. Now, some of the things that you talked about, because these are things that come up in our community as well. Some folks that come in that feel like I don't have enough experience, or folks also as well that have a lot of difficulties in job interviews because of I'm not a mid developer or a senior developer and feeling like they're just, or that they maybe not even have a college degree. In some cases, maybe not even a high school diploma. I imagine that the last mile probably does some coaching to companies to show them about to perhaps look at other skill sets that candidates can have. What might some of those skill sets be, or what can companies do to broaden their minds and have a different vision when having candidates, like you said, in second chance situations?
Absolutely. That's a great question, Bart. I think first and foremost, one thing that you mentioned was taking a look at the more, like, I would say, paper-based background, so those formal degrees, and considering who you're leaving out by setting a bar for a formal degree as opposed to an informal training program. I think there's also opportunities, certainly, to partner with organizations and to partner with potential candidates to provide, whether it's sample interview questions or practice problems, to ensure that candidates are well prepared to enter an interview and know what to expect so that they can best highlight the skills that they have.
Very, very good point. I think that's exactly it. I think also that what you were saying is that we hear a lot of companies talking about we hear companies and organizations, and ourselves included, and we know that in the data on Kubernetes community that we can do a better job, for example, of getting more women in our space. Like it's obvious. Like that's and it's something that I'm glad actually that I have the opportunity to say it, because it's something that I know we need to improve. We need to get folks of other genders, non-binary people, as many different kinds of backgrounds as possible. So I think that it's something that we hear a lot, and we had a talk earlier as well too about diversity and inclusion, but it's specifically having the architecture of a community, or in the case of a company, making sure that that those opportunities are guaranteed, and that we can try to build a more level playing field. I want to, and obviously as well too, is that right now, in the US at least, with higher availability of vaccines, not as much as we would like to have in Europe. Is our classes resuming now with conditions improving in that regard?
Yes, they are. We're really, really excited to see. I think in the past month, we've had at least 5 classrooms come back online, which is wonderful. And I think one thing that I failed to mention in the context of COVID is that although our students didn't have access to the computer labs where they learn the curriculum and have access to our LMS, we did provide them with books and offline materials so that they could at least have access to some content to continue to practice those skills that they had started building. And I think more than anything, that speaks to the incredible passion and persistence that our students have for the content that they learn, in that we have students who start to learn something in their classroom, go back to their dorm, and will code, just write lines and lines of code on paper that they can then bring back to the classroom, type out, and test.
That's incredible, and I think it's a perfect example of why some things like college degrees might be overrated. Because I think universities are wonderful and things like that. I think what a lot of this comes down to, and a lot of things that we encounter in a lot of different spaces, from talking to different folks with different backgrounds and different profiles that all arrive to tech in a different way. But a lot of it is that when folks come in and start asking about resources, is that if you are motivated, obviously, okay, if you don't have access to the internet, but there are other alternative resources such as books. People learn in different ways, but it is quite a common thing that there is, publishers like O'Reilly have tons and tons of books about lots of different stuff. So I think it's also, once again, those skill sets of understanding this person has learned programming, writing code on paper. If that doesn't say motivation, I don't know what does.
Absolutely.
So like you said, I think this needs to be a wake up call to companies to be like, you need to, it's not one size fits all for these kind of interview processes. And while one person might be not as strong in a certain skill set area as a typical candidate, they have other skills that are far more developed, and that can really have a positive impact on an organization. And once again, organizations that are talking about diversity and inclusion, put your money where your mouth is. For organizations that want to collaborate with the last mile, you mentioned some of the different ways, whether it's mentorships, internships, things, apprenticeships, things of that nature. I suppose though, what I'm trying to say here is that obviously donations are wonderful, but it's more looking for closer kind of collaborations. That's what you're after, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, we are so compelled by the students that we serve. And one of the biggest pieces of making sure that our students and our graduates have everything they need is to establish these partnerships with organizations and ensure that students can pursue careers after they're released.
Yeah.
So setting up, whether it's an apprenticeship program, an internship program, or setting up a hiring pipeline, those are profoundly impactful ways that companies can both support the work that we do, but also support their own internal drives for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Perfect.
That being said, I think the message is clear. Companies, if you're out there and you're listening, take this seriously. Don't just throw money at a problem. Try to take a bigger step and actually really get involved. Thank you so much for your time. We will be continuing to collaborate with the last mile. And it's precisely with that last question is that we want to figure out with our community, what's the best way we can be involved, how we can have the biggest impact. Thank you so much for your time today and looking forward to staying in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Bart.
Pleasure. Take care. Cheers. All right. We are now getting into the final talk.